Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is G. Hatfield. I'm the CNO editor with HealthLeaders, and I am here with Gail Vozzella, who is the CNO at Houston Methodist, and we're here to talk about the Tech Hub and ION and nursing and innovation. So hi, Gail. How are you?
Good. Thank you, G. I appreciate you spending time with me today.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for being here. It's a lovely warm day in Houston in
Yes,
November.
exactly. Not unusual for
Not
here.
unusual at all. Yes. Yeah. So, as we know, nursing is, forever being challenged with workforce issues and technology and all of that. And, innovation's constantly happening with nursing in mind, hopefully. One of the biggest things with innovation in nursing is getting the burden off of the bedside nurse. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think are some of the biggest workflow challenges that nurses are facing currently at the bedside?
Yes, I think there's quite a few challenges, and I think they were spotlighted during the pandemic, but it wasn't that they didn't exist prior. Certainly, the burden of work was really, really high during the pandemic, but the nursing was spotlighted for being an essential workforce that does amazing work. And so a lot of technology then looked at our burden of work for the first time. So prior to that, a lot of technology was focused on physician work, robots for operating rooms, or patient focus. So, assist devices to have a bridge to transplant, those sorts of things. And so if we had technology added, it was for safety of patients, but most technology to that point had been focused on patient safety. So it added steps to nursing.
Absolutely.
And so now it's really an exciting time, even though it's a time of dramatic change for nurses, to say is a lot of focus on unburdening us. So the biggest burdens are one that we see as an easier win in order to adapt and change is the amount of time nurses spend entering information into an electronic medical record. So I just heard recently statistics and research that nurses enter about 600 to 800 different entries into the electronic medical record during one shift. So during a 12-hour shift, 600 to 800 times you're entering a chart.
Wow.
And other statistics are that nurses on acute care units in hospitals spend 40% of their time in the electronic medical record entering information. And in the ICU, 60% of their time entering necessary information into the record, which isn't why we went to school to be a nurse. So most nurses say, they tell their schools of nursing why they want to be a nurse. It's to help people. No one says they want to type into the electronic medical record,
absolutely.
but we spend 60% of our time. So tapping into technology that can be potentially voice activated. So while we're doing things, it automatically populates into the record, partnering with technology to do things like that. Or information flowing right from the patient into the electronic medical record without us having to enter it, certainly are wins for us to be able to capture what's going on with our patient without typing.
Absolutely. And you're addressing it a little bit, with the EMR and everything. But how do you think technology can help really redesign workflows to help address that burden challenge?
Right. So a lot of nursing is doing tasks that does not require a nurse to do that task. We want nurses, and I would say the we is nurses nationally want to have value added work, meaning we want to care for patients. We want to be there to listen, to critically think, to partner with physicians and the rest of this team in order to make a plan of care for a patient. But tasks take up a good portion of our time. So, for example, we at Houston Methodist have a new device that's a bio button, and we attach it to a patient, sticks onto a patient, and information, looking at trends of patient information like respiratory rate, the median average of that respiratory rate, heart rate, go right into the record. And what it shows is it alarms as well based on parameters into our virtual nursing center when a patient is deteriorating or potentially deteriorating. So that takes the burden of the bedside nurse from always going into that record to see, oh, is the patient doing better or worse, away from that nurse. They have a partner in virtual in providing that care. We also, because of that bio button, we can do vital signs less often in certain patient populations, which then frees up ancillary support like patient care assistants to do work that the nurse picked up because there's not enough help around them. Because we know there's a people shortage, and if technology can support it, so our patient care assistants can bathe, walk, turn patients, help us, is it shifts that nurse away from tasks into doing what they want to do, which is critically think, partner, listen to patients, involve the family.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just touring the Tech Hub at the main campus with Murat, and he was showing me the bio button.
Yes.
It's very, very cool.
It is. It is.
Even the virtual nursing system, he turned it on briefly, and it was very interesting. Yeah.
And even for our patients do not want to be considered that they have a hospital care and then they have care provided outpatient. To them, they're one person.
Yeah.
And so hopefully eventually that if we're worried about somebody, we can send that person home with that button. And then it's continuation of care, that they don't feel like, gosh, I was really monitored closely in the hospital and now I have nothing. So we think that'll help do the bridge too.
Absolutely, yeah. So one thing that I think is super important is obviously nurses having a seat at the table when it comes to innovation. So how can nurses get involved with the development and implementation of new technology?
Yes, well, that is my talk today. So that is the great thing. And I think, what nurses also want is that voice. So, and we are the ones that are on the front line and can tell you quickly if technology is going to work or not. And so I would say it's incumbent upon nurses and nursing leaders to be partners with their innovation centers or with their IT departments, to say, I want to be involved in it. We speak different languages, information, IT people and nurses, we have different acronyms. We all have acronyms. We have different ones. And so we have chief innovation nurses now that help to bridge and can speak dual languages, because IT people want to help us, but unless we can speak a similar common language or have translators, we will run in parallel, which won't be good.
Absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned CNIOs. What are some of the other ways that nurses can kind of learn to speak the language of technology and then vice versa?
Yes, I think the other thing too is it seems scary to learn that language, but we learned a lot of language in nursing, and so sometimes nurses can be like, well, it's intimidating, but if you're taking care of somebody who's critically ill or getting chemotherapy, you're a smart person.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so to really have the courage to say is I'm going to be involved and I represent more than just myself. So I'm going to ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, and I'm going to be 2 feet in and really try to be okay with change, and that technology is there to help us.
Absolutely, yeah. And then obviously you're a CNO. So from the leadership perspective as a CNO, how should nurse leaders use their seat at the table that they already have to be an advocate for new technology for nursing?
Yes, well, I think we have to model the way. So I didn't grow up with an iPhone or technology. It came much after in my career. And so I had to adapt and change and learn to partner differently and realize that it's here. And that I think change is constant now. We're in a time of big disruption in nursing, but I do think it's going to be much better as it settles, or maybe with the disruption constant is that we're in a better spot. But I think we have to speak always and communicate to our frontline people directly
Mhm.
and hear what they're saying about any implementation, hear their voices directly, and take that feedback and make sure that we use it appropriately in order to keep implementing changes that support our nurses.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Gail, for your
Thank
time.
you,
I'm
G.
excited to hear your talk today
Thank
and
you.
stick around. And yeah, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for listening.